Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself?
Oh, good evening, night owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again. We've got an incredible show lined up for you tonight.
So, the girl runs away through the woods. She finds a house and she hides in it.
And who's coming for her? Maybe a wolf? Like a Red Riding Hood type thing?
It's a man.
What man?
A man no one wants to meet.
Could you open the door?
What do you want?
You're in trouble. I saw you come out of the house just now. You went to the car to get something. You left this door open behind you. Somebody went inside.
What?
I saw you go to your car and you left the door open. Somebody slipped inside. They're in there now.
There she is. The almost birthday girl. Oh, but it seems I wore my long legs today.
Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. One single injection unlocks your DNA, starting a new cellular division that will release another version of yourself.
Ils vont vous soigner ici. Quoi? Arrêtez, putain! Arrête! Arrête! Lâche ça! Lâche ça! Arrête!
You are the Matrix. Everything comes from you, and everything is you. This is simply a better version of yourself. You just have to share. 1 week for one, and 1 week for the other. A perfect balance of 7 days each. The one and only thing not to forget. You are one.
Good to see you again, Jack.
Sorry, I don't believe we've been acquainted.
Don't be a fool. We go way back. We met amongst the tall trees. Remember?
I am gonna have to tie you up though, all right? All right. What do you recommend that's fastest? You have some cuffs, or is there a rope, or is there something that I can put you in and lock it from the outside? Whatever's most comfortable for you is fine, as long as it's fast.
Well, that's thoughtful of you.
I'm not trying to fuck up your day any more than I already have.
We have not become so much enlightened as we have been blinded by the gaseous light of science. I have wrestled with the devil as Jacob wrestled the angel in Penuel, and I tell you, if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists. We are here encountering the undead plague carrier, Evandria, Nosferatu.
Until months. To days. To hours. To seconds. But not now.
You can't escape from yourself.
All right, welcome back to the Scare Value Podcast. Pete, I played that live for you, and you got up twice and left.
Look, did you like the picture I drew you?
Yeah, you drew a picture, you fixed your lighting.
Did you? Also, a cat came in the room, and I thought the door was shut, so I don't even know how he did it, and I had to go kick him out. But did you know what the picture was of?
Yeah, it was long lungs and long legs.
They were in a fight. Who's going to win?
The funny thing would have been that when you pulled it away, I was going to stand up and pretend to unzip my pants so I could show you something long, but I couldn't back that up.
Good times. So, what was on that clip?
It was all the movies we're going to talk about today.
What movies are we talking about today? I didn't watch anything. It's like full spoiler coverage, warning.
No,
what's that word? Disclosure. Starring Demi Moore.
That's right. That's not the only movie starring Demi Moore we're going to talk about today. This is the Scare Value Top 10 Movies of 2024.
Yay.
And you've seen 4 of them. Last year you saw 5. You're slipping.
Out of how many?
Out of how many in the top 10?
Yeah, how many of the top 10? Oh, there were 10 you're saying. I see, I get it. I saw, while I was doing my research for this, there was a movie called Attack of the Meth Gator that came out this year. Did you review that one?
No, I didn't review it, but I know it came out.
How? That's a horror movie.
Sure it is. But you know how many horror movies come out a year?
6.
At least 10, because we're talking about 10 of them today.
I think some of these might be doubles. I know how these lists work. There's not 10 of anything.
Well, today is New Year's Day.
Is it?
American New Year's.
Boo?
It's New Year's for everyone but China, I guess, right?
I don't know. Oh, well, it depends on calendar, right? This is the Gregorian calendar that we're using, and there's like a different one, like the Lilliputian calendar, I'm pretty sure. And there's orthodoxes and orthodontists and all sorts of other things of that ilk.
I don't know anything you just talked about.
That's okay. I really don't either.
Some guy named Greg made a calendar?
Yeah.
That's where I got it. That's where I got lost.
And then Caesar put a bunch of extra months in there because they used to be numbers, and now it's just nonsense.
Greg got a calendar and Caesar only got a dressing?
Yep. What else did Caesar get?
A palace.
Yeah,
a pizza chain.
A little
one.
just a smidge.
Well, you've seen 4 of these movies, and
which 4 did I see?
Well, that's what we're talking about today. So we're going to go in alphabetical order. And I got to tell you, this was a good year for horror, but a bad year for movies in the first half of the alphabet, because there's no movie in the top 10 between the letters A and K.
So, what is that, like 11 letters? I don't know what K.
Unless, well, I guess there technically is one, but I take out the thes and the A's at the beginning of movies when I do things in alphabetical order.
A Quiet Place.
That's right, but it starts with a Q, how I do it.
Okay. Well, are you not putting these in like top 10?
No.
No, it's just 10. These are the top 10.
These are the top 10.
Okay. There's no number 1.
No, these are the top 10. This is
Except
just
there is.
That will be talked about on the Scare Value Awards in 2 weeks, or on the website now, whichever you want. The
website,
the scarevalue.com. The top 10 is just the top 10 in alphabetical order, and then when the nominees for the Scare Value Awards are out, which they already are, you can see the top 5, and then one will be given the award for Best Picture. The last 2 Best Pictures were The Innocents from Norway and Godzilla -1 from Japan. Will this be America's year? Probably, because I think 8 of the 10 movies are American. So
now, does the Scare Value Awards, do they have to be for movies on the top 10 list, or could you pick like Sonic 3?
Well, for Best Picture, there'll be 5 movies from the top 10 list. But
boring.
If you've paid attention to the previous year's awards, the winners of individual awards can come from bad movies, as did happen last year.
Was that the guy who won for Haunted Mansion?
Yes.
I still haven't seen it. Well, actually, I think I might have, but I wasn't watching. The kids were. Where were we?
We were going to start talking about the 4 movies that you've seen. No, we're going to talk about all the movies in order.
All the movies in order.
Alphabetical order.
I don't like that.
Did Greg have alphabet?
They Might Be Giants wrote a whole song about who put the alphabet in alphabetical order.
Was it Greg?
I think it might have been.
The Gregorian alphabet?
No, I'm telling you, it's that Lilliputian alphabet.
Let's start with
all right.
The first movie in the top 10 list for 2024, a movie that you've seen.
A Quiet Place Day 1.
Nope, because that starts with a Q the way I'm doing it, again.
But I'm doing it the correct way.
And the first movie is called Late Night with the Devil.
I saw that one.
I saw that one in theaters.
I saw that one on the TV.
And then it came to Shudder. Shudder had a really good year. Shudder's going to be on this list a bunch of times.
I must have paid. I think I actually paid money for it through Amazon or some such.
Seems like that was a waste of time.
I wanted to watch it.
Yeah, but you could have watched it on Shudder.
But it wasn't on Shudder. Or maybe it was.
I think it probably was.
Either way, it wasn't my money. I'm not sure whose account it's tied into anymore. I just clicked buy.
Like NSYNC said.
Yep. Is that NSYNC or was that 98 Degrees or the other one?
I don't think anyone's ever described that as 98 Degrees or the other one. It's Backstreet Boys or the other one.
Was Blackstreet a band?
Yes.
I thought so. Was there a connection? Was one a mockery of the other one?
That's Elastica.
Elastica? The penny's not dropping.
Was there a connection?
The connection was not made, Brian.
That's right. Well, you saw Late Night with the Devil. Late Night with the Devil is technically a found footage movie, I suppose. I like to call it a lost footage movie because they're uncovering a previously aired television episode of a late night talk show on Halloween.
And it's got the polka dot man from
David Dastmalchian.
Yeah, and he was also the crazy guy who shot at Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight.
I think that was his first movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, what else? I only know him from superhero movies and this.
He's been in tons of superhero movies, and he does a lot of horror stuff. He does a lot of smaller parts and things. He was in Afraid this year, the AI movie with John Cho. That was a bad movie with a good cast. He's only briefly in it. It's like he was in The Boogeyman last year, just very briefly. And it's another movie that's not that great. It wasn't that bad, but he just gets these little parts. And then in Late Night with the Devil, he gets to be the lead, and he's incredible. They found the perfect role for him.
Right? I could have watched that.
I could watch him just do a talk show.
A late night show in the 70s?
Yeah, he was great. I wish there was I was on Netflix. I could just go watch all these things back. It was great.
So I remember it correctly, he's just a TV show host, like a late night Johnny Carson, Conan O'Brien. I don't even know who's around anymore. But
they aren't.
The hell I'm showing you. I don't know who's around. I don't even know that late night TV exists anymore. I feel like Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel are still bouncing around somewhere.
They are.
Late past my bedtime.
And Fallon is on The Tonight Show. Can you believe that Conan got 1 year and this guy's already got 10? That's crazy. And I think James Corden's still out there being hated by everybody. And
even I hate him, and I've never seen him in anything, but I know I'm supposed to hate him.
I only know him from a couple Doctor Who episodes, and I liked him on those.
No, you're wrong. He's bad. He a bad man.
That's what I hear.
But he was a talk show host, and as it's going on, this talk show, this late night show, you realize that he's got, I don't know, he got his fame through some sort of weird culty devil worship thing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yep.
It's very cool.
And he's haunted by his dead wife.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's bopping around.
And there's possession that's good. It's a really fun movie.
But it's not over the top. It's a live recording of a late night talk show.
Yeah, and they during the commercial breaks they'll show you like cinema verite style what's going on behind the scenes, but for the most part it is just the episode as it would have aired.
Is that
until the ending, which you don't like and I do.
The ending, like the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes where it kind of just breaks down and it's no longer in the format of...
When you're seeing his through his...
Like his vision, like his, I don't know if it's his broken brain or his...
You're seeing what's happening to him as opposed to what you're seeing on the screen.
Right. Which I don't hate. I haven't seen the movie since, and it's one of the ones I'd like to watch again. But I just remember it took, you know what I mean? Because you spent the whole first part of the movie watching a one set kind of thing. And then when it shifts to this perspective, it just threw me out. But I don't think it was bad because I really liked the movie. I just don't know how I feel about it.
I watched it again and I really enjoyed the ending. It's a nice way to end it.
Okay. I don't disagree. I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, well, it's one of the top 10 movies of the year, Pete.
I don't know why it's... Wait, you're saying so L is the first letter we have?
Yeah, it's crazy. What a weird year.
Letter number 12, perhaps.
Is it?
I don't know.
You gotta take your shoes off and find out if that's true.
I can count to 21 before I need to start bringing the calculator.
You can cut to 20 and a half.
20 and a half. Sometimes, if I think real hard about sexy things, I can get up to 21. Sometimes,
if you think about the female gremlin at the end of Gremlins 2 in the bathroom.
If I think about that female, but if I think about it too much, I'm back down to 20 again.
So, Late Night with the Devil, I believe, is on Shudder right now. And it was one of many Shudder releases this year, some of which made this list, some didn't. But there was a lot that were close that didn't make it, too. So Shudder had a very big bounce back year after a 2023 that was a little bit of a struggle.
I remember liking Shudder last year. Shudder seems to have, of all the horror platforms, that was the one I go to the most.
Well, we talked about this before, but Shudder fired all the people that ran Shudder to make it cheaper. And 2023, we saw the end of the last regime's acquired assets, and now they're into more making their own movies because they've combined it under AMC and IFC Films, so they can put it on everything. So now they're making their own, which is turned out to be good because they're making high quality stuff.
Yeah.
But we're not getting as many of the When Evil Lurks.
The foreign, small budget.
It was acquired by from another country, and we're not getting as many of those. Although there will be one coming up on the list, so it's not completely void of those. But there used to be more releases on Shudder, but now they're doing less releases, more in-house productions, and it turned out to be a high-quality year. So the next movie also you saw, and
2 in a row?
You saw 2 in a row, and then it's going to be a long dry spell. The movie is breaking Nicolas Cage news. Nicolas Cage's Longlegs.
Yeah. And also Arcadian, because he was in that one too.
But that is not in the top 10.
I don't know. I just said it, so I think it might be there now.
It made the episode, but it didn't make the list.
Nicolas Cage, top 10.
We talked about Longlegs a few weeks ago on the After Thanksgiving Mashed Potato Mashup.
That's right.
Did you like Longlegs, Pete?
I did like Longlegs, Brian. It was... I still don't remember how I feel. I like Nicolas Cage in it. And who's the lady who plays, it's like Micah, whatever?
Micah Monroe.
Micah Monroe. What else is she in?
It Follows.
I never saw It Follows.
I know. That's going to be rectified this year.
No, but she was in something else I saw her in. That's going to irritate me.
She was in The Guest, which you didn't watch, even though I've told you for 10 years to watch The Guest.
The Guest? Never heard.
You say it the same way every time. I've said for like 8 years now, I've said, you should watch The Guest. You should watch The Guest. It's really great. You'll like The Guest. And then every time you go, The Guest? Like it's the first time you've heard those two words together in a sentence.
Because Beauty and the Beast seems to jump forward in my mind anytime I hear The Guest.
Well, that's fun because Dan Stevens plays the Beast in the last Beauty and the Beast, and he is the lead of The Guest. So you could make that connection Elastica style in your head.
All right, I'll work on that. Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, ba-dum.
Now we're gonna get copyright claims.
Oh man. I found out a fact about this movie for you.
Oh boy.
Nicolas Cage based his the Longlegs
on his mother.
on his your mother.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so you took my fact, but yes, it was based on his mother who suffered from schizophrenia. So it was like the voices coming in and tormenting him. I also saw that he was all plastic surgery because he was trying to make himself pretty for the devil.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
That was the reasoning. He wanted to make himself beautiful.
He was beautiful. But
I thought so.
We saw that in the theater together. And there was a moment when they're in the hardware store, not the hardware, when they're in the store and the clerk's like reacting to him.
You mean Oz Perkins' daughter?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I did. I saw that too.
It's Anthony Perkins' granddaughter right there?
It's Anthony Perkins' granddaughter.
Wow.
And it's cool. Anthony Perkins' mother's great-granddaughter.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't in anything.
She was dead. He had her body there in the chair.
You're confusing things.
I don't think so. I saw that movie, Brian. That was one of like the first movies I saw. Because he dressed up like his mom, but his mom was really just there in a chair.
Did I ever tell you that when I saw Psycho for the first time, the Guide channel was lying to me and I caught the last 5 minutes before anything else? And the last 5 minutes of Psycho is when they explain the entire... I was like, oh, I've heard this is really good. I'm going to watch Psycho, and it was airing like all day long on PBS or something.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, great. I'll start this 4:00 showing. And I go to I turn on the channel, and I just see the psychiatrist breaking down the entire thing. And I was like, well, guess that's that for that.
It was like me watching Twin Peaks, and then on a Best of the 90s or We Love the 90s clip show, while I was flipping channels, motherfucking Andy Dick popped up and told me who killed Laura Palmer. I'm like, how? How is this possible? This is a 20-year-old franchise, and I'm just watching it now.
Can I tell you something, though, Pete? I know you've seen Twin Peaks all the way through anyway, the original series. It doesn't matter that you know who killed her. It doesn't.
No.
It's not. It doesn't. It's. I can't think of something that was that excited. People that excited about that mattered less to enjoying the show than who it turned out to be. Outside of the one episode where it's revealed, it just doesn't matter.
As it turned out, it was just very annoying to me that would happen. I hadn't cared about it in, forever or even thought about it. And now when I start watching it, all of a sudden it's ruined. But it didn't end up ultimately mattering.
No, it's one of those crazy things. Who Killed Laura Palmer was like a major pop culture thing. It was Who Shot JR. It was like the next biggest thing. And both those things end up not mattering at all to the plots of the... I know that it matters who killed Laura Palmer. And Fire Walk with Me goes deep into all that story. But it doesn't really matter to watching the show because they didn't even know or care who did it for so long that you can enjoy the first 15 episodes before it's revealed. Then it's revealed and you're like, oh, okay. And then the show just goes on. It doesn't really matter. It'll ruin one episode for you.
It did. It was fine. Except for Andy Dick. Fuck him.
Anyway, all the way back around.
All the way back around to Who Shot Mr. Burns?
When we were sitting in the theater and Anthony Perkins' granddaughter was reacting to Nicolas Cage being weird, I turned to him and I said, but he's just playing Nicolas Cage.
He was just being normal.
It seemed to me like an interaction with meeting Nicolas Cage.
I don't know. I've never met him. I got to imagine that it's very similar, though, right?
That's not true, because we saved his life from a falling dinosaur skull. And also, you stalked him and wrote Peggy Sue Got Married.
Yeah, but I don't know that I met him.
Well,
Remember,
you kept your distance.
I walked around with that screen in front of me with a little peephole that I would look through to make sure, but he couldn't see behind the door I carried. I know. That's why I looked through my little peephole. I'm like, I peep you.
Well, the other thing that we both said when we walked out of Long Legs, which is, I don't know that it's the intended message you take away from it, was how good Blair Underwood was. He was so fucking good in Long Legs.
And that's in a movie with Nicolas Cage, carrying it up as Nicolas Cage. Blair Underwood manages to carve out his own little memorable performance.
I think,
which is nice.
I think I know it's like Nicolas Cage is obviously great in the movie, and Blair Underwood is not doing the same. He doesn't have the same heft to his role that he has to try to do. But I enjoyed the way he played everything in that movie. It was so interesting. Part of it is that Micah Monroe understands what is required of her character. It's got to be a slow movie. It's very slow burn. And Blair Underwood shows up and he's like, yeah, but I'm not going to do it that slow. I'm just going to be Blair Underwood and be cool. And it's like, fuck, this guy's cool. And he's even cooler juxtaposed with Osgood Perkins' style. I don't know why it worked out like that, but it did. Because like Alicia Witt shows up and she's like, great, we'll do this real slow and weird. And Blair Underwood's like, I'm just going to be the cool guy that runs this office and then I'm going to go crazy. And it's like, this was A+.
Yeah, because Nicolas Cage's performance it's the over the top. It's his acting. It's just him committing to this character. Blair Underwood had his own character, but how he chose to deliver lines, like he really made that character three-dimensional, which was for such a minor part. Really, every line was great. I was so excited every time he popped up. I'm like, yay, it's Blair Underwood.
Yeah, me too. And then he gets that great ending.
Yeah, the end of the movie is just cool. It's cool, man. Yeah. Cool, Daddy-O.
It's a good one. It's one of the top 10 movies of the year.
So what were the first two?
Late Night with the Devil.
And Long Legs. Both L's. Lucky L's so far. I like them. Those were the two I saw. I guess I understand why I like them.
And sticking with the L's, we have a movie from Japan.
Ooh. Super Mario Brothers.
Technically, that is from Japan, yes. I don't think the movie was made in Japan.
Godzilla.
That was last year.
Hello Kitty.
Is she there?
No.
Very cold greeting for her.
Yeah. Well, It was unintentional. Didn't realize she was here.
It is a movie from a director who was on this list last year, Kenichi Ugana, who last year brought us Visitors, the crazy movie about zombies.
And not the French Knights.
Nope. Not Jean Reno.
Not Jean Reno.
And this new movie is called Love Will Tear Us Apart. And we actually talked about it on last year's top 10 because I'd seen it at a film festival and it finally came out this year.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I already dislike this movie.
Well, it is a movie about a young woman who, at 3 different periods of her life, continues to find herself in a very final girl role as everyone around her is getting murdered by somebody. And Visitors was one of the wildest, craziest things I've ever seen. Just the funniest, wildest impulses the director had. And this movie reins it in enough for an actual narrative, but it does give you those moments, enough moments of just weirdness to keep it super exciting, as it's actually like a fascinating movie going on.
Now, is it played for comedy or is it a horror?
This one is not played for comedy.
But with everyone getting murdered around her 3 separate times, it sounds like it should be a comedy.
You have a weird sense of humor.
Hey, I know how these things work. That's comedy gold, man.
So like that guy that survived the atomic bomb at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you were like, ooh, he was 2/3 of the way to a comedy classic.
So close. That's like a real life Three Stooges. I mean, that's good stuff.
The Three Stooges wasn't real life, Pete.
That wasn't animated?
Well, so they did have animated stuff.
Wait, there were real people hitting each? That sounds horribly unsafe.
Why do you think they're all dead? They all had CTE.
Is that why they have such like strict stunt coordinators and safety people on movies now because of the Stooges?
And nobody knows this, but Larry Fine is the reason that there's intimacy coordinators now.
Well, I mean, some people knew it, but it was very hush-hush. It was a Weinstein level thing.
I guess I knew it. I knew about the Weinstein thing too, but I really like those Scream movies, so I figured he'd get a pass.
Was he was a Scream person?
He was a Scream producer. The Weinsteins were producers on Scream, and if you recall the plot of Scream 3, it is about the casting couch in Hollywood and how a producer is abusing his role to manipulate and rape women.
Brian, I remember Jay and Silent Bob were in Scream 3.
It's true. Scream 3 is a bad movie that I'm positive the screenwriter was just trying to slip past everything he knew about Harvey Weinstein and make him produce the fucking thing.
Well, if you look at it through that lens, I guess I do enjoy it more. I'm probably never going to watch part 3 again. I watched the one that has Jack Quaid in it recently because I like Jack Quaid.
Yeah, and I get sad every time he dies in it.
Me too. I'm like, oh, Richie, no. Even though now watching it, I know he's the bad guy. I'm still kind of rooting for him.
I know he's going to make it out of that house one day.
And I think you're right. At no point does he ever kill anybody.
I think that's true.
The one we can pin it on is when he kills Chad. Is it Chad, the big muscular jock twin? I think it's Chad. Mm-hmm. But anyway, when
he doesn't die.
Stabbed, but he survives, right? That's the only one Richie could have gotten to, I think.
Yes, he's a very bad killer, but a very great guy.
Agreed. All right, what movie are we talking about?
Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Love Will Tear Us Apart. All right, not a comedy, despite her walking into 3 mass murders.
Yeah, I mean, there's funny elements because Kenichi Ugana is just one of the wilder filmmakers. He has a sensibility for what he thinks is entertaining that matches like exactly with what I like. Just madcap nonsense sometimes thrown in.
What about it then makes it in the top 10?
The actual story is fantastic of the girl, and then she's got to learning how to defend herself in case it comes back, and she's trying to unravel the mystery of who it is. And it has an ending that I think is one of the more interesting slasher movie endings when she finds out who it is. And I don't want to give away like the reason that it's so good, but I don't know if I was ever going to watch it. So maybe I could.
I don't know how these things work. I think that you could go ahead and tell me because I don't know, and maybe it'll make me want to watch it. I'm not going to remember anyway.
The opening scene of the movie takes place when she's a child, and she's kind to a classmate who's getting picked on. And they start picking on her because she's nice to the boy. And then when she's walking to school one day, one of the kids that's picking on her just gets thrown out the window and splats on the ground in front of her.
All right, it sounds like a comedy.
And she looks up, and it's the kid that she was nice to. And then when she grows up, it's obviously going to be this person who's doing all the killing. But she finds out that he died. So it kind of is like, well, then who is doing this? He didn't die. And he is the mass killer doing it.
Is he a monster?
No. In the end, you find out that he's doing all these things to protect her because these people that she was surrounding herself with were bad people. And they end up together. It was a nice little romance at the end.
Oh. Oh, so the title is a mislead. It's a misdirect trying to get you off. It says love will tear us apart, but it doesn't.
Well, look at it from his perspective. She falls in love with these people, and he has to keep murdering them because they're trying to use her and take advantage of her. So love was tearing them apart.
Okay, so we got to look at it through the male gaze. That's hard. We don't get a lot of films from that perspective.
No, this is the first one. It's real innovative.
I see why it made your top 10.
Yep. And Kenichi Ugana, just one of the best filmmakers. Seek out all his stuff. He's a madman.
Okay. How long has he been making movies?
I don't think that long. And this one, I think I even liked it better than Visitors because it was, first of all, Visitors was barely a movie. I mean, we had it in our top 10 movie list. It's a great experience, but it was originally a short, and he expanded it to 2 more segments to just make it 61 minutes and get it long enough to put on a disc, probably. But I loved Visitors, but as an actual movie, like this is an actual movie.
Okay. It is on. I'm going to move it from your top 10 list to my list of things that I know about and perhaps I'll watch someday. It's pretty rarefied air for that movie to be breathing.
There's some good kill scenes in it too. It's a fun movie, and there's like a whole subplot of people trying, not just her, but like one of the victim's fathers from an earlier one of the second incident is trying to track this all down, and it's got a lot more going on than you expect from a movie that has a simple premise.
Okay.
And next up, we're back to Shudder. For that movie I talked about that they did acquire from another country.
Ooh.
It's a movie called Mads, which I know you've heard of, but you have not seen.
But not Mads Mikkelsen.
Nope, he's not in it.
Doesn't make sense to me then.
He was in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
I never saw that one.
I did.
Did you really? You finally watched it?
I did.
All 18 hours of it?
All 18 hours of it.
Oh boy. You didn't give me the review. This is more interesting than the top 10 horror movies. How was it?
Well, that, first of all, hurts my feelings. And secondly, it wasn't good.
Oh.
It was better than Crystal Skull.
I couldn't make it through that movie. I fell asleep.
Well, that's the difference. I did make it through this movie.
Okay, well then I guess that's a step up. But there's a new game out that apparently is good.
Yes, that I'm playing. That's excellent.
The Globe of Gondor.
The Great Circle.
That was close.
No. Well, Globe of Circle. Gondor. I guess that's correct.
That's right. All right, Mads. You were telling me about it, but I don't remember anything you said.
Mads is a movie that is presented in one long take. And it's a gimmick, yes, but it's a gimmick that works because all it does is keep fueling the energy of this movie is a nonstop, 90-minute ride. It never slows down because it doesn't take a normal pause anywhere to reflect on things or give any kind of exposition. It's just, we're off. Guys picks up a hitchhiker who's injured and she goes insane. And I think she bites him or something like that. But also they're doing all these drugs. So maybe there's a zombie outbreak. Maybe this group of 3 friends is just having the worst trip of all time. Maybe they're having a trip during an outbreak. And it changes perspective. The first act is all from the one guy's perspective. And then it goes to his friend. And then it goes to another friend. And it just is this wild and crazy, all gas, no brakes.
Does the point of view shift when the character dies?
No.
Okay.
That's what you would expect. Yes, maybe 1 or 2 of the times, maybe 1 of the times, maybe not all the times, and it's just carrying it. But it's such a that's maybe the movie's best trick is it gives you an introduction and you're following one character, and then when it switches to the next character, the middle part of this movie, the actress that's playing the middle part, which is really when the characters are starting to go through it and lose their minds because they're also on drugs, or maybe it's only happening because they're on drugs.
Yeah.
She's phenomenal, and she has this manic and growing craziness around her. It's one of the best. I don't know if I want to say a segment, but it's one of the best acts of a movie this year. And then they give you a character who's not quite as crazed, so that you can finish off the narrative. That's kind of why they do it.
Okay,
'cause they're just emotionally mentally breaking these people. And then, is this even happening? I don't know. And is this, it's a wild movie though.
And it's like nonstop.
Yeah, it's
balls to the wall, go, go, go.
The gimmick of keeping it all in one shot, which isn't real. They didn't really manage to do that. But the gimmick of making it look like that, it just never lets you take a breath, which is what should be happening on a terrible trip through a possible zombie outbreak. Maybe there's an apocalypse happening. Maybe they took some bad drugs. It's the only perspectives we ever see it from are the three characters that did take these drugs.
Did you already tell me who are the people in it? Do I know any of them?
The independent French movie?
Yeah.
No, you don't know any of them.
Wait, this is the foreign movie?
Yes.
I thought the Japanese one was the foreign movie.
I told you there was two.
I guess I wasn't listening.
Now there's zero left.
Hold on. Let me take my pants off and start counting. Give me a minute. I got to think.
Oh, no.
You distracted me. All right. Anyway, moving on. Where are we now? I'm intrigued by Mads. I like a drug-fueled road trip, possibly also a zombie apocalypse.
It's just people on a bad trip running through a city that may or may not have an apocalypse breaking out around them. It's exactly as fun as it sounds. Like that's what the trick of keeping it in one shot really worked for. It is a manic movie that is going to hold your attention the entire time.
All right. How's the gore level?
It's not about that as much. It's not about cool effects. It's like there'll be some blood and ooze and stuff you'll come across, but it's not about like, oh, look at that cool thing they did. Yeah. Because it's got to be done in one shot, technically in one shot. So you're not going to get cool stuff where they're going to be able to cut away and give you awesome,
right,
Terrifier 3
whatever you can produce in what looks like one take.
Yeah, it's really about the energy of the movie, and it's one of the best attempts I've seen of keeping something that exciting for that long.
Okay. Cool.
And that's why a movie like that makes this list over a movie that I thought was equally good in The Coffee Table.
The Coffee Table I've heard of.
I love The Coffee Table, but it's about the opposite. It's about how depressing and how much despair can we make you feel over the course of 90 minutes.
But I get the sense, right? Like you feel for this person.
Oh, it's
who you're following, because
yes,
Jesus.
But when you look and you're starting to compile a top 10 list and you're looking at all the movies you give great reviews to, and then you think, well, how did I feel watching Mads? Well, how did I feel watching The Coffee Table? You're like, I think that Mads is probably the movie that makes the top 10. I say that, but The Innocents won Best Picture one year, and The Innocents makes you feel like that a lot too.
You keep bringing up The Innocents, and I feel like you were doing that with Speak No Evil. I think I might need to watch The Innocents now, and I'm going to be sad. I think I'm going to be sad.
It's not as depressing as Speak No Evil.
Oh, okay.
But I do think it's a better movie than Speak No Evil was, which is saying a lot, honestly. Well, next up, we have a movie that I was maybe the least excited person in the world to watch.
Interesting.
That watched it, at least. It's called Nosferatu.
The Eggers one that just came out. This is the movie that held up this list.
It held up everything. That's why we're recording this on Christmas Eve, because I had to wait to see the stupid movie.
It's Christmas Eve? No, it's New Year's Eve, you fool. I know my holidays. I'm done with this year.
That is New Year's Eve. Nosferatu, the reason I love Robert Eggers, I think he's one of our best filmmakers, period. Not even of today, I just mean period. But I hate Dracula. I hate it.
You do.
So much. I've never connected with the story.
You tell me this all the time. It's one of the few things I know about you. Brian, he doesn't like condiments, and he hates Dracula.
I like ketchup and mustard.
Not on any Subway.
You knew two things about me after 30 years, and one of them was wrong?
That doesn't look good for me. Uh-oh. I got to rethink this. Who are you?
I never connected to Dracula at any level, in any format. Didn't like the book. Have never liked one of the movies. Find the character boring and stupid. And anybody who doesn't know, Nosferatu's just Dracula. They just ripped off Dracula. Didn't want to didn't have the rights to make the movie, made the movie anyway, got sued into oblivion by Bram Stoker's widow. All the copies of the movie were ordered to be destroyed. Obviously, they survived. At least one survived.
This is the 1920s one,
1922, F.W. Murnau's German Dracula take, Nosferatu. So yeah, I know I have to sit and watch a fucking Dracula movie. And as much as I love Robert Eggers, and I love the cast, it's got Willem Dafoe. You know, it's got Nicholas Hoult. It's got a great cast. Bill Scott, creepy Skarsgård's being creepy in it.
He's well suited for that. That's like his whole name.
But I know I have to sit and watch a fucking 2.5 hour long Dracula movie. And
it's 2.5 hours long?
2 hours and 14 minutes, I think.
Ugh.
And I don't want to watch a Dracula movie. But Pete, it's in the top 10. So clearly, they made a good Dracula movie. So here's what I'm going to say about Nosferatu. I think it's the definitive Dracula movie. Now, Dracula and Nosferatu aren't exactly the same. Nosferatu has a better ending. Always has. They made it in 1922, put a better ending on it. Werner Herzog remade it in 1979, kept that ending, changed the character names back to the Dracula names for some reason. This one, he goes back to the Murnau character names and keeps the ending. Better ending than Dracula. That's one thing Nosferatu's always had over it. The rest of the movie, exactly the same. It's like it's almost like the 1922 version of watching Speak No Evil's remake, where it's going to be the same movie for an hour and a half, and then the last half hour is going to be different.
I'm confused. So they made the movie the exact same as the original one, and then they changed it to a Dracula ending, like the book?
No. Nosferatu in 1922 has a different ending than the book Dracula.
Okay.
And any adaptation of Dracula has had. Nosferatu has a better ending. It always had.
Right.
The original one had a better ending. They've kept the same ending for all three versions of Nosferatu.
Okay.
But I still have to sit through 2 hours of Dracula. He wants to buy a house. I gotta go over there. I'm getting messed up with this guy, and there's something wrong with him, and I think he's a vampire. And then they're gonna bring it over here, and there's a plague. It's like, I fucking cannot take how much I don't care about the story of Dracula.
All right.
Eggers makes the best version of it I've ever seen, and I've seen them all.
Okay.
And I think that now we should take Dracula as a story and put it away forever, because we have done it. We've made the best version, a version that I was completely engaged with for the entire run. The only knock I have against it is that the story is still not great. It's still not that interesting. But Eggers is such a great filmmaker, and he has such a great cast. They get everything they possibly can out of it. There's no more to get out of Dracula. I marvel at the fact that he was able to make a version this good, this late into how long this story has been made.
Okay.
It is one of the best movies ever. I just don't care about Dracula.
All right. I don't know. I have no problems with Dracula.
Then you're going to love this movie.
Okay.
I said this. If you somehow are completely unfamiliar with Dracula, this is going to be the best movie you ever saw. If you love Dracula, you're probably really going to love this movie. If you have no problems with Dracula, you're probably going to watch this and be like, that's a great fucking movie. I still think it was a great movie, but I sit there and I go, with the caveat of, I wish he'd just made a different movie. Use your talents to make something I find more interesting than another story of Dracula.
Well, Eggers has done, The Lighthouse?
Yep.
The Witch?
Yep.
And the one I saw, but I don't remember, The Northman?
Yep.
Has he done anything else,
Nope.
or am I got him? I got him? Okay. So I've seen all of his movies except for Nosferatu now.
And I think this is his... See, I love The Lighthouse, but it's doing a very specific thing. I think this is him at his peak of his talents, though. He's in full control of everything. The movie's gorgeous. The cast, he's got his players down. Willem Dafoe's always in his movies, and he's fucking phenomenal.
Did Nicholas Hoult play Renfield?
No. He plays the Keanu Reeves part from...
So Keanu Reeves isn't in it?
No.
All right, well, that's a strike against it.
I mean, he did play Renfield in Renfield.
Yeah. All right. I got 2 follow-up questions for Nosferatu then.
Okay.
Does Dracula still have his...
Count Orlok.
Does Count Orlok still have his hot vampire brides running around?
No, but he does have a mustache, which is the weirdest choice.
Ooh.
And it's a choice that was so weird.
Ooh.
It was a choice that was so weird while I was watching the movie that every time I popped on screen, I was like, is this supposed to be funny? But it's...
Willem Dafoe with a mustache?
No, not Willem Dafoe.
I thought he was Count Orlok.
creepy Skarsgård is Count Orlok.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he's got a mustache, and it's the weirdest choice. It's a choice that I sat the entire movie thinking, did the makeup just not work? And they were like, we don't like the way it looks. Put a mustache on him. It's that silly a choice almost. But it only added to the movie for me because it kept me completely engaged with what was happening at all times.
All right.
Why doesn't he shave that mustache?
Mustache notwithstanding.
What was the second question?
Well, now I've got a new one.
No, you were only allotted two.
Do you think that this was the best version of Dracula?
Yeah.
On screen.
Yeah,
okay.
I literally said that.
I wasn't listening. I was thinking of my two problems. My other one was Dracula in this movie. Does he use dynamite?
No punches to the face either.
Then I can't say that this is the best version of Dracula. Respectfully, I haven't seen it, but no dynamite's a big no-no. We know that's canon.
It can't be true when I say this, but it feels true. This is the only adaptation of the story that I've ever liked. And that, to me, that is how wildly entertaining it must be for people who aren't me.
You see, I'd watch it, but it's 2 hours plus. That brings up the other question. How long were any of these other movies?
A fourth question?
Well, this is hearkening back on the timeline.
Jonathan hearkening?
We are Jonathan hearkening back down the timeline. Nicholas Hoult, but not Keanu Reeves.
Well, it's Jonathan Harker, but it's not even that in this movie because they renamed these characters because they were trying to skate past the fact they were just ripping it off completely.
Is it named Jonathan Parker?
No, they all have stupid names. That's the other funny thing. Let me look up the names real quick. It's one of the funny things is that all those Dracula names are classic because you've heard the story so many times. And then in Nosferatu, they're all given names that I just think are funny because it's still set in, turn of last century times, I think.
Victorian England.
Maybe even pre that. Maybe it's like, it's still set in that time period. So, yeah.
And then there was The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I never saw.
Well, he's Thomas Hutter, his wife Ellen.
Not Mina, it's Ellen.
We got Count Orlok, Thomas Hutter, Ellen Hutter. We got a Frederick Harding and Anna Harding. Oh, okay, the Willem Dafoe plays Van Helsing, except it's Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz.
Should have been Vanderclock.
It's so stupid. It's just Dracula. With a better ending. I still got to say that Murnau's ending in 1922 was always better than the original Dracula ending.
The one that came out in 2000, Nosferatu, that was like a making of
that
the 1920s.
That is not Nosferatu.
What is it called then?
Shadow of the Vampire.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. But that is the making of Nosferatu, right?
Yes.
That's what that one
and
was.
Willem Dafoe plays Max Schreck, the actor who plays Count Orlok in the original, except it posits that he was an actual vampire. Produced by, breaking Nick Cage news, produced by Nicolas Cage.
Really?
Yes.
How have I not seen that movie?
I have seen that movie, and it's pretty good.
Okay. And that's why I keep confusing Willem Dafoe as Dracula.
Only problem with that movie is that it is very 1990s independent movie, which already what it feels like.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That is such a vibe that just permeates all of those types of films. I'm not knocking it. I like it. That's kind of when I grew up watching these things.
It was an interesting time period between Sex, Lies, and Videotape and when the digital revolution happened, where people could now make better looking movies for cheap. There's like a 10-year span where the movies just look weird. They have their own weird offbeat feel to them no matter how much talent you had. They just have this weird feel to them.
I know, and I can't pinpoint it. I don't know if it's just the actual cameras. It's the...
Yeah, I can't pinpoint it either.
Nope. Man, that's going to bug me. Thanks. Now I'm going to be irritated for the rest of the day.
But it's definitely worth watching. And you can see Willem Dafoe play both the vampire and the Van Helsing character in two different movies. I recommend completely watching Nosferatu, because if you like the Dracula story at all, if you're not off put by how often you've seen it,
yeah,
it's I don't think it's ever been done better. It's so fully realized that
how is this Van Helsing? I like Van Helsing a lot, so that's my draw.
Great and a little funny, which is I liked his take on it. It's a little off, little bit off, because in the world of Nosferatu, he's a respected person. He was a formerly respected person who has gone far too down this rabbit hole of believing that there's this
vampires.
Yes, and it's all happening with the plague happening, because a plague ship shows up. Obviously, it's the Demeter, if you read Dracula, and now
or saw that movie.
They're infested with rats, so they think that these plague is happening, but really it's Nosferatu's come to town. Count Orlok's come to town, and he's the only person that really knows or believes what's happening. So they all look at him like he's kind of crazy, and he kind of plays it kind of crazy because, it's a good performance.
All right.
In a great movie,
Right.
like a legitimately great movie.
I am intrigued by this one out of all the others, only because I have no real strong feelings about Dracula. So I'm curious how I'm going to view this movie. Am I going to be bored? Am I going to like it? You've got me intrigued, Brian.
I think it's hard to be bored by it because it's such a masterfully crafted. It's such a masterfully crafted story that it doesn't even bother me that the story is the one that I don't like. Okay. I wish he'd made a Frankenstein, because James Whale rewrote what Frankenstein was. We've talked about this. Like, the definitive text for Frankenstein is no longer Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It is James Whale's Frankenstein. I'd like to see Robert Eggers make a Frankenstein, because I think he'd go back to the source material and finally make it good. Like Branagh failed. He tried and he failed. I think that Robert Eggers is a much more gifted film storyteller.
All right. I would argue that I'd be more interested in Bride of Frankenstein, but I don't think you can. I don't want to mess with that.
I think there's two versions of Bride of Frankenstein coming out in the next year and a half.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You can't. It was so good the first time through.
One is, maybe I shouldn't say it's of Bride of Frankenstein. It's like a combination of the two, I think. But Guillermo del Toro is finally making his Frankenstein, which I think it centers around Dr. Pretorius.
Oh, I like Guillermo del Toro.
Del Toro's favorite movie is Bride of Frankenstein.
But you know what? I haven't seen anything he's done in a long time now. So I don't know how Del Toro is still these days.
I'm sure he hasn't forgotten how to make movies.
I don't know. Sometimes people reach a certain age and they just give up.
That's true, but this is his passion project he's been trying to make forever. So the ideas will come from a younger man's idea.
I thought The Mountains of Madness was his passion.
That one's never getting made.
No, well, that's true. All right, I'm going to put a question mark around that one. What's the other one?
I think Maggie Gyllenhaal's directing a movie with Christian Bale as Frankenstein that's about Bride of Frankenstein, called The Bride.
All right.
I don't think I don't know anything about her movie.
Okay.
But
I don't either.
I trust Guillermo del Toro to understand what Bride of Frankenstein was. I'm not saying that Maggie Gyllenhaal can't understand what Bride of Frankenstein was, but I think del Toro's entire aesthetic and love of film comes from it. So he has the. I believe it. I believe in his version.
All right. Well, I guess we'll find out. I didn't think it could be done, but they're doing it twice.
Yep. But they made another version of Bride of Frankenstein. I think Sting was in it, wasn't he? And Jennifer Beals.
Jennifer Beals and Sting?
I think so.
And they weren't fighting on Arrakis?
Don't know what that is.
That's Dune. Sting fought.
Oh,
Kyle. Yeah, McLaughlin.
Oh, the good Dune.
The good Dune. I watched part 2 finally. Did I tell you? Or the new one?
You found the 18 hours for that?
I was on a plane, see.
How was Chalamet doing the warrior Atreus?
If I remember, I was on a plane, see, but he was very mopey.
Yeah, that's the
he
problem.
Moped around a lot.
That's the problem. I like him in certain roles. I liked him in Dune, the original Dune, but I was like, I don't know that he's going to be able to pull off this second part of this, because Kyle MacLachlan does.
Yeah, it's more, the movie I think focuses more on his internal struggle with bringing about.
I'm sure it's great, but we talked about this with the original Dune. I think Dune 1, I didn't see 2. I think Dune 1 might be the greatest film production of all time with no emotion in it anywhere. On a technical level, a drop dead masterpiece. On a me sitting and caring about what's happening, all time low.
I'll agree with you because it had a ton of people that I liked, and the story was it kept to the story well enough that I understood everything, and I feel like the story was told even without having to read the book because there's so much goddamn stuff in Dune. It's
Sure.
A lot of things happening.
It's for something that was for so long considered unfilmable. I think that Denis Villeneuve made an absolute masterpiece in the first one. I just don't care. And
I agree.
I've never seen something so wonderfully made that I have no feeling about. But anybody tells me it's like the great movie, I'm like, I agree 100%. It's an epically excellent film. And I never think about it, and there's nothing, it didn't make me feel anything for the entire run. It's cold.
I'm not going to watch it again. It doesn't leave me the urge to watch it. I'll reread the book first.
I think what I told you after I watched it was my favorite thing about it is it just made me want to watch the David Lynch version more, but now I'll understand it better because somebody did a far better job explaining what was happening. But it's the same movie, so I can still go back and watch it and be like, oh, I see what's happening now.
Right.
But I want the weird choices.
I get you. With no context.
Yes.
You're just walking going, what the shit?
Yes.
Why is there a floating needle thing?
That movie only gets crazier with time. Now, back to the top 10. And back to Shudder.
Number 5.
I think it's 6.
Number 7.
Number 9. Number 9. And we're back to Shudder for a movie called Oddity.
I have heard about this one, and I haven't seen it. The End. I don't know anything about it. Is it about a cuckoo clock? I think it's about a cuckoo clock.
No.
Oh.
It is about a woman who is investigating the death of her sister, and she has a creepy wooden mannequin for some reason.
As one does.
It's...
Nope.
Yeah.
Is the mannequin just like in her apartment, or does she like take it on cases with her and she's got to solve the crime and the mannequin plays good cop and she plays bad cop?
She's a blind woman who has a connection of some kind to some supernatural stuff, like a seer without eyes, kind of. You know, I mean, she knows what's up.
It's her eyes,
but she doesn't have the ability to catch the killer by traditional means. So she goes to the house, her sister's house, where she had passed away, where she was murdered, and sets up residence with her husband there, not wanting her there, and his new girlfriend. And she just puts her creepy wooden mannequin at the kitchen table where it will sit for most of the movie just staring at you as she investigates what happened. And it's like a legitimately effective little piece of business.
She moved into her sister's house with her ex-husband and his girlfriend?
Uninvited.
Yes. They were living in her sister's house? Or they moved in?
She had bought a new house for him and his wife. She was murdered. And then when the sister comes to launch her investigation that her husband doesn't realize that she's doing, she finds out that he's moved on already with I think he was a teacher, and this is one of his, not students, but
husband, not the dead sister, not the living sister. That's the husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then the doll just sits there?
The life-sized carved wooden mannequin just sits there for most of the time with its mouth open staring at you. And
does it move at the end?
Of course it moves at the end, Pete. Of course it does. And you wait a long time for it to move. Except there's cool moments like you'll look down, be at the second floor of the loft that they have, and you'll look down and the thing will now be staring up at you, and it's genuinely one of the scariest fucking effects.
Dolls are creepy as shit. I don't know why everyone hates dolls. I refuse to ever be killed by a doll because how embarrassing would that be? It's like, oh, Chucky got me. This little fucking 2-foot tall cloth.
Well, this is a giant human-sized.
Yeah, but it's human-sized or like little kid? In my head,
it's a huge. Sized. It's a man.
That's even creepier. I don't know that I've ever seen a giant man doll before.
It works really well. It also has my favorite. Not my favorite. It has one of my favorite kills of the year. Because spoiler alert for Oddity. The only suspect did it.
The husband?
Of course. And the
doll?
sister knows this. The sister knows this. But what she doesn't know is that the layout of the apartment, the house that they live in, has a trap door on the second floor, which he opens and then leaves her phone on the other side of it so he can call her and she can walk straight through to fall to her death in a moment that was so awesome.
When she falls, does she get smaller and smaller and the little dust cloud comes up from the bottom when she lands?
No, but as she's laying there dying, she manages to get her carved mannequin on the case.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one that has like legitimately good scares in it and great performances. It was a lot of fun to watch. This was also the movie that I watched in the theater, and I got really sick. And I never get sick, but I got really sick while watching the movie. Not because of the movie, because I could start feeling myself being like, oh man, I'm starting to sweat. And I was like, and this movie was so good that it overcame the fact that I was laid out for like a week afterwards because I don't know what happened to me, but I was like dying.
Oh boy.
But for that whole week, I thought, what a way to go.
That movie scared you.
It was rough. I was feeling really rough.
All right. All right. That one That one and the Nosferatu are probably on my list. This one way higher than Nosferatu.
Well, if you like Dracula at all, I think you'll love Nosferatu. Well, if you like Robert Eggers at all, you'll love Nosferatu. He's got a style that is singularly his own. It's much more like The Witch than The Lighthouse.
Okay.
Because The Lighthouse is it's a one of a kind.
Yeah, I don't put The Lighthouse in any kind of category other than its own because I don't know how to describe it.
It belongs more towards Kenichi Ogana's Visitors, where it's like an experience more than even a narrative movie.
Okay. Now you've got me intrigued by Visitors.
Whereas this is much more like The Witch, where it does have a beginning, middle, and end. Obviously, you know the story. It's fucking Dracula. You know all the beats. That's the one issue I have with the movie is no matter how well he can do it, it's not going to be surprising the whole way because you're what's coming at every beat.
Yeah. And if you change it...
And how many more do we need? And my answer is zero. But I'm glad he made it because he made the best version.
How do you feel about vampire movies in general?
Hate
Just
them.
like the vampire as a creature.
Hate them almost universally. We've talked about this before. The only vampire movies I like, I do like Near Dark a lot, but the only movie I really love is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I love that movie, and it
was...
has nothing to do with it being a vampire movie. I love the movie, and then it also happens to get cool ideas and moments out of it being a vampire movie.
Okay, so no Lost Boys, no.
Never saw it.
Oh, it's an all right one. It's got Kiefer.
Yeah. And
Speed 2's Jason Patrick.
I believe it also has both Coreys.
It does. It has the Coreys, a staple of the late 80s, early 90s.
I'll see it eventually, but I don't, it might not surprise you, I don't rush to watch vampire movies when I hate all of them.
Right, I'm trying to think of any 30 Days a Night.
I mean, I like Blade.
Oh yeah, Blade's I never saw Blade 2.
Guillermo del Toro.
I know. It's weird to me that I've never seen it. I've seen 1 and 3.
That is weird.
I know, it's really, every once in a while I stop and I'm like, hey, there's Blade 2. I should put it on. It's Guillermo del Toro.
Well,
and I never did.
Here's a movie you have seen, back to a movie you've seen in the top 10, called A Quiet Place Day One, which we talked about pretty extensively on the After Thanksgiving Mashed Potato Mashup.
Yeah, so go listen to that.
It's a Lupita Nyong'o joint.
She's great in everything I've seen her in.
She's great in one of those things where, why is Lupita Nyong'o Oscar winner? Incredible actress. You know, she's also in big movies like Black Panther and Star Wars. Like, why is she making the third movie in The Quiet Place the prequel? It's felt like a weird choice. And then you watch the movie and go, what a role. Like she said it was because of the script, and then you kind of dismissed it like, okay, come on. Then you watch the movie and go, oh shit, I get why she made this movie. This was an incredible performance and an incredible role.
In a threequel? In a prequel, yeah. This banger of it's a prequel. Mm-hmm. A banger of a script, this performance that is out of this world. And just the character itself is so fascinating. Like, everything is great about this.
It is a movie that she elevates completely because they have one of the best actors in the world doing the role in a horror movie, but it's the role that makes the movie work. Because this is, at its heart, a very moving drama. And I don't get moved by drama that easily, and this was one that really worked for me.
I can see that. I had the problem of watching this movie where I couldn't see anything and I couldn't hear anything because I had a TV that was messed up, so everything was pitch black. And then I had to keep it quiet because I have children who are trying to wake up, so I had to watch it. So I couldn't hear anything and I couldn't see anything.
Also, you don't want the monsters to come get you.
I didn't want the monsters to come get me. They're a lot tinier than they're portrayed on film, but they're 100 times more vicious. Like, just so terrible to come across.
I think it's the best of the Quiet Place movies, and I think even if you watched the first two or one and you didn't like them, I would say watch this because it's a different animal completely.
Just for Lupita Nyong'o, she does a lot of horror movies too.
Yeah, she knows where the good roles are,
and she's great to watch. I like her.
Little Monsters. I mean, she knows where the good roles are. That was a great role.
Yep, everywhere.
A movie that nobody's seen, but it's a great role. And next up, we have a movie you haven't seen that was also on Shudder called Stop Motion.
That is another one that I've heard of. What is this one? Is this the one with the cuckoo clock?
There's no movie with a cuckoo clock. There was a movie called Cuckoo that came out this year that was not about a cuckoo clock.
Oh, well, that's the one I was thinking of, I guess. And there is no cuckoo clock, you say?
Nope. You know who's in that? Dan Stevens from The Guest. The Guest?
The Guest?
The Guest.
Hey, you took my line. Yeah, that's a French movie about knights.
Yep. Jean Reno, Dan Stevens.
Jean Reno.
The Visitor and The Guest. The crossover the world's been waiting for.
I know. Oh man, let's make this movie.
Stop motion is about a woman whose mother is a famous stop motion film director, artist, and she dies.
Oh.
But before she dies, her strange daughter, is trying to help her finish her last movie by being her hands that can mold the things. And it's a good window into their relationship where she just looks at her like nothing she can do is right. And, you know, you have to move things like a very small amount. And she's constantly criticizing how she does it. And it's a very strained relationship. So when she passes away, she decides she's going to try to finish the movie and pretty quickly realizes that she'd rather make her own story. Yeah. Do her own thing. And it's a movie about the obsession of creativity and also little stop motion puppets that are haunting her. And it's great.
So the opposite of the giant doll that sits at the table. Now we get little tiny ones that move stop motionly.
It has really, there's some light body horror in there too. It has some really good ideas about how to portray the obsession of trying to create something where she realizes that the thing that makes the puppet look best is her own flesh.
Ooh.
So it's really putting her own life into the work. It's a very good movie that works on a symbolism level and it works on a just narrative level.
I'm working on a sneeze, so at some point I'm going to hit mute.
I can just mute you in the post editing. Well, you don't have to.
I like pushing the mute button.
I know, but I have to edit. I have to edit off the click anyway, so it's gonna.
Oh, see, I did that because you told me not to push the microphone.
Oh, maybe it won't do it if you're doing it on that part then.
Yeah, I'm doing it on the laptop as opposed to the microphone.
Well, I can edit it off either way.
But don't edit out that conversation. That's stuff that people want to hear.
Sure. So yeah, stop motion, easy recommend.
I don't think they do enough stop motion things since like that movie with the skeletons that grow and then fight.
There was one a couple years ago called Mad God that took the guy like 20 years to make. It got great
stop
reviews.
Motion will do that.
I think that's on Shudder too.
Shudder has a sister network?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's like HBO too.
HBO Max. It's not even HBO.
Actually, now it's just called 2.
Is it really? I don't doubt it. I believe.
There's no HBO 2 anymore.
I know. I would believe that it would just be called 2. There's no HBO. It's just Max.
It used to be not TV. It's HBO now. It's not even HBO anymore.
Yeah. Now what is it? Nothing.
Max.
Ooh. Yeah, but you don't. There's no taglines for Max.
No. We have 2 movies left to talk about. One of which you've seen, one you haven't.
All right. Let me guess.
Well, the one you've seen, you have to know.
Sonic 3.
Did you see Sonic 3?
I did.
Oh, is it great?
Theater. I saw it, Brian, in 4D.
Was it great? Oh, did you go to the 4DX theater?
Yeah, I've never been to one before.
Yeah.
So I took the kids.
How dare you cough on the camera?
we went. And I'm like,
now it might get left in.
Kitty didn't want to go, so I'm like, 4D it is, because she wouldn't survive that. And I get there. Sam is scared. He's like, oh, it's going to be like a roller coaster. I'm like, it's a seat that's strapped down. I can't do shit, son. Like, man up.
And then it bangs you around real hard.
Well, it's just sitting there through commercials forever, as one does at the theater these days. I got the Lion King popcorn bucket with the little bucket, and there's like a snow globe on top of your drink. But it turns out if you shake the little snow globe while there's still drink inside, you just get wet everywhere. And then sitting, and the very first thing they showed was a 30-second teaser trailer for the new Captain America movie, which was all explosions and punches in about 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. So we went from sitting still to, like in a movie, popcorn flying in the air, children dropping things, me falling over in my own seat. And that went on for 30 seconds. And I said, I don't know if I can watch a movie like this.
Yeah.
I did, though. They calmed it down for the actual movie.
Yes.
I'll tell you this. It rains a lot in Sonic 3.
Nice.
I think just for that 4D theater, because every few seconds.
First movie I saw in one was Halloween Ends. And I think that it's actually best. I know people are like, oh, I want to see the big action movies. And no, I think it's actually best for Halloween Ends, for a movie like that, an atmosphere movie, because it really pulls you into the movie in those subtle ways. Like they were riding a motorcycle down the street and you had the wind in your hair. And I was like, that is what makes this work. Yeah. And before the movie started, I saw the trailer for Black Adam. Oh my God. I was like, I have to leave, I think, because I think this seat has actually murdered me.
That's what I felt like in that first 30-second teaser trailer.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. it starts punching your back at a certain point.
Like I said, I think you got to watch a subtler movie in the theater for the effects that aren't painful.
Because that would be pretty creepy.
Yep.
I can see a creepy movie doing that.
Well, was the movie good? Because I love the first two.
I didn't hate it. It's reaching the point. Like, I like James Marsters. I like Ben Schwartz. I like Jim Carrey.
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba is there. I don't know who plays the fox, but Tails. I can't remember. And Keanu Reeves is there. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Fred cried.
Wow.
She was so touched by the lessons learned in this movie.
Sounds great.
It was fine. If you like the first two,
I do like the
third
first
one.
two.
Then you're gonna enjoy the third one.
They've already announced the fourth one. I was excited. I haven't even seen the third one yet because I think that's everybody says these video game adaptations are bad. I'm like, these Sonic movies have been good. And I'm not a child. Like, I'm not. Well, Detective Pikachu was the best. But I guess that's not a count. Was that a video game? Yeah, Pokemon.
Yeah, there was the Pokemon. They had all the different versions of.
When
Pokemon.
I almost cried at Detective Pikachu because I couldn't see the only obvious twist that the movie had.
I didn't see it either because who's looking for a twist in Detective Pikachu?
Well, no, but the question is, why can this one talk?
It also says detective right in the title. Maybe we should have been paying more attention to solving things.
Hey, he's the detective, not me.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The movie you haven't seen is called Strange Darling.
Is that the one that has... I know you think I'm going to say a cuckoo clock, but no. Is this the one that has Black Widow in it?
No.
All right, then I don't know what this movie is.
It has friend of the podcast, Kyle Gallner, because we bring him up a lot.
Who's Kyle Gallner? Oh, yeah. I remember Kyle Gallner.
That's your other one. You have The Guest, and who's Kyle Gallner? Kyle Gallner and Willa Fitzgerald. And it is a movie that plays out of order. It shows you different scenes. It's like 6 acts or whatever. And then they jumble them around. And even knowing that will probably spoil that there's a twist coming.
Okay.
And the movie's not good because of the twist, because the twist is fairly easy to pick up on when you realize why they would show a movie out of order. But you're seeing scenes that lack context, and then you get the context later, and it changes which is 2 great performances, an awesome movie of a guy hunting a girl across the woods and then into civilization. And it's one of the more interesting movies of the year. But again, once you realize why it's out of order, it's one of those movies like Memento that if you played it in order wouldn't work nearly as well. So it's another movie where the gimmick really, really helps the storytelling.
But it works.
But it's designed that, like Memento, which is a masterpiece, it's designed that way.
Yeah, that's how the story is being told. It's
Yes.
not meant to be told
Yes.
in a linear fashion because
Yes.
it takes away.
Yeah, so you can't really ever think of it like that, but it's the thing that your head will do after you watch it and you go, oh, this is what was really happening. And it's like, it's not as interesting as watching it happen. And that's why it's a movie and not a book.
Yeah. Okay. Strange Darling?
Strange Darling. 2
So
thumbs
it's about
up.
a guy hunting a girl.
It's about, yeah. And then you get to like go back and then you see who they are and why this is happening. And then it takes some crazy turns and it gets brutally violent at times.
What was the one with Jean-Claude Van Damme where he was hunted? Was it Hard Target?
Sounds like it, yeah.
I think his name was Chance. And the girl was like, why did your mom name, or why are you named that? Because my mama took one. Not a dump, a chance.
And then he became a rapper.
Yes, he did. And then I believe he did a Saturday Night Live skit where he was the announcer for a hockey game. And that was pretty goddamn funny.
He also was a goalie for a hockey game.
I don't know that one.
The one that in sudden death, nobody can leave the arena. And as soon as the game ends, the bomb's going to go off. So he has to get in goal and save
That wasn't Double Impact? I thought that one was that was the hockey one.
You think that was the hockey one, not the one called Sudden Death, when they're in sudden death overtime?
Well, that could have been football.
They're all bad.
I saw a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies in the 90s. He was everywhere.
And finally, Pete, we have a movie that you've seen.
To round off our top 10, a movie I have seen this year, not last year.
Called The Substance.
I saw The Substance.
And it opened up your eyes.
Up my eyes. I did. So this made the top 10, and I think rightfully so.
Wow, the first one.
Yeah.
That you agreed with.
Because I still think about that. I still think about that movie. It was something.
I think I mean, spoiler alert, it's going to be nominated for Best Picture in the Scare Value Awards coming up.
I can see that. Just trying to think about all the other horror movies and everything in this list you just told me. It's up there.
I mean, I'll give you the nominees right now for the Best Picture, because it's 5 of these movies.
Oh, really? Boring.
It is Late Night with the Devil.
Okay.
Long Legs.
Of course.
The Substance.
Yep.
Nosferatu. And A Quiet Place Day One.
I can tell you right now, Nosferatu's not going to win. I think Lupita Nyong'o might take it for... There's all the people in The Substance.
This is for Best Picture, not Best Actor.
Well, I'm trying to figure out... See, I'm eliminating options out of here by giving awards to other people. I know how awards work. I'm an old hand at this. I've seen many an Oscar. Sometimes a Tony. One time a Phil.
So this is one of the top 5 movies of the year, if you wanted to break it down like that.
Okay.
And I think anybody who's seen it understands why. It's in its own unexpected way the craziest movie of the year.
It's The Fly, but for ladies.
Yeah.
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 That was how I'd sum it up.
You know what it's missing, though? It doesn't have a Stannis.
Not Dennis.
Yeah,
Quaid.
it does
Dennis
have
Quaid, he kind of... But he's not the good guy.
That's true.
There's nothing redeeming about Dennis Quaid as the
You can just stop right there. One of the favorite things about the movie is how it casts this disgusting person as a disgusting person, and it made me really happy because I said before on the After Thanksgiving Mashed Potato Mashup, this was originally Ray Liotta's role.
Oh, I didn't remember.
And I'm sure he'd have been great in it because he was a great actor, but I don't hate Ray Liotta. And when Dennis Quaid pops on screen, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate Dennis Quaid. And then I get to hate Dennis Quaid every time he's on screen. And he's leaning way into it, so I'll give him full credit. He knows.
It was so good.
That's Jack Quaid's father, Dennis Quaid.
I know. Hollywood's good boy, from what I've heard he's called.
And he needs a granddaughter that can be in a Nicolas Cage movie one day.
That's the way it works. Everyone has to have a granddaughter who stars in a movie with Nicolas Cage.
Everyone does. Yes.
It's like a Hollywood rule.
You know, every woman he's ever been in a movie with was a granddaughter.
I put it together. It took me a minute. I had to sit and I had to think, and I'm like, that's logical. That's like saying everybody has a mother.
Yes.
And chickens lay eggs. And those are all the euphemisms I can think of. And those weren't euphemisms. those were words I knew. But The Substance.
The Substance.
It's The Fly.
Demi Moore's finest hour.
An aging Hollywood actress who just wants to...
Which I know I've pointed out before, but it just makes me cackle thinking about how she's playing a 50-year-old being told she is out because she's too old. But Demi Moore herself was 60 while playing the role.
That's right.
I just enjoy that opposite of the message happening in real life. Because, first of all, Demi Moore doesn't look 60.
No.
And secondly, this movie is not about... The making of this movie is the opposite of what it's about anyway. It's a French director. Female French director making a movie that is turning those concepts completely on their head by casting a 60-year-old as the 50-year-old.
Yep. I'm trying to think. Anytime I try to think of that movie and talk about it, all I jump to is the third act. And when the third act happens, it just the movie's fine. It's got all the body horror. It's got great performances.
It's a super good movie. And then the moment comes where she's going to off the young version of herself and end this experiment because it's taken too much from her.
Well, because the young one is taking stuff from her.
And as she's trying to complete that task, she realizes she's about to lose everything that she loves and tries to bring her back by switching back into the body, and they both end up alive at the same time, and the movie just goes off the fucking rails in the best way. When they're staring at each other, it's great, and from that moment on, the movie is maybe the best movie ever made. Like, I'm not even kidding. I enjoyed from that moment on more than anything I've ever seen in a movie.
This is one where I don't want spoilers, and I feel like I don't even want to talk up the ending because it caught me completely off guard. I don't know what I was expecting, like how I thought this movie was going to end, but what it did do was nowhere near my radar.
No, one of the best theater experiences I ever had. People were aghast.
How was it a crowded theater?
Yes.
Oh, that's got to be fun.
It was a crowded theater.
Really? Oh,
and
man.
You could feel the room, the confusion and shock in the room in the final climax of this movie. In the climax of this movie, people are just like hands on their heads, like, what is happening?
That is awesome.
Never had an experience quite like that.
No, I try to think, I don't generally enjoy having people in the theater with me.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there was a movie that I enjoyed being with the people, but it seems like Substance would have been the one, just for...
And not something I expected at all. When I went to see it, I was like, oh, I've heard this is good from the festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'll enjoy it fine. And then I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. It goes completely off the rails. And suddenly I'm just looking at everybody else and they're just like covering their mouths trying to figure out, what am I watching?
Oh, that's great. I don't feel I can spoil it because you need to see it for yourself, but I just kind of want people to watch it and go, huh, look at that. Look what they've done.
Everyone should watch it because it's a one of a kind.
And I really like Late Night with the Devil. I really liked A Quiet Place Day One, the parts that I could see of it and hear of it. Stupid British people talking in the rain. And I think The Substance is the one that stays in my brain the longest. Also, I think that's the one I saw the most recently, so take that with a grain of salt.
That's how that works. I was going to say, your top 10 is Sonic 3.
Yep, that's up there. How'd you know?
The last 9 movies you saw before that. Friday the 13th Part 3, you didn't even like that movie. It's in the top 10.
It's the blue shirts, man.
Yes. So, that is the Scare Value top 10. We got, to recap them quickly, we got some Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
Long Legs.
Yeah.
Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Yeah.
Mads.
Yeah.
Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Oddity.
Yeah.
A Quiet Place Day One. Stop Motion. Strange Darling. And The Substance.
What was so good about Strange Darling that made it make the list? Because it sounded just
It's a movie where anything you know about it's going to ruin the movie.
Okay, so but it made the top 10, so it's got to be pretty solid.
Great movie, yeah. It's,
okay, all right.
It was honestly, if there were 6 nominees for Best Picture, it probably would have been 6.
Oh, wow.
It was just pushed out by Nosferatu because I couldn't deny the success of
the quality and
that. Yeah,
and telling a Dracula story, probably the best way you can ever tell a Dracula story. And now it's time to put a pin in it
forever.
And forever.
Yeah. So Strange Darling, I 100% look out for it, and pops up on a streaming. Sit back and enjoy it because it's a pretty great one. And Kyle Gallner, excellent.
Oh, he usually is. Even though I never remember who he is till after you explain it to me again.
He was the killer in season 2 of Veronica Mars.
Yep, sadly that is what I remember him as, and he's the guy who gets killed in outside
Scream.
the bar in Scream.
Scream 2022. He is the answer to the 2-year-long question of who raped Veronica Mars.
I thought it was everyone.
No, it was him.
No,
I think
it was just him. I think you're right, because she thought it was the guy who could have been her brother, Duncan.
Yeah, the show's great until Hulu brought it back and Patton Oswalt ruined it.
Yeah, come on, Patton Oswalt.
I like Patton Oswalt,
Me
and
too.
I think he's funny. And every time I see him, in the back of my head, I'm like, "You motherfucker, killed Logan."
Low key, that's what I think too. That role is somehow like I'm angry at Patton Oswalt, the person now,
Me too.
for being in that role. I'm kind of angry at whoever, which one, the guy who was in Matchbox 20, Rob Thomas.
Rob Thomas.
Yeah, I'm mad at him for writing it. What the hell?
I've told you before how Rob Thomas never appears on Veronica Mars, but the Matchbox 20 Rob Thomas, because the creator of Veronica Mars is also named Rob Thomas.
I
but
thought they were the same
Rob
person.
Thomas, the singer, does appear on his next show, iZombie, as Rob Thomas, singing, and he gets eaten by a zombie. And because the zombies that eat you carry your traits forward, they come back out, and a zombie's on stage singing a Matchbox 20 song, like trying to strum guitar as a zombie, trying to sing 3 a.m. And it's hysterical.
That's good stuff.
Yep. So next week, theoretically, is a special birthday for a special boy. The almost birthday boy.
Is it Nick Cage's birthday?
Was that a good impression? That sounded
That was
okay.
a really good impression. Hi, I'm Long.
I was going to say,
things.
It sounded pretty good when I did it. I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to do impressions, but that sounded okay.
I was very impressed. Do it again.
I can't. It's over.
For a special boy.
I believe he's turning 61.
G. 61?
We should have a Nicolas Cage episode, as we do.
As we do.
By law.
What is it this time?
We will be drafting from 7 different categories.
Ooh.
Our own Nicolas Cage lineup of movies. We have the best. Let's see what the categories are.
Yeah, give me a little taste, a little lick of the lolly.
We can be choosing. It'd be you, me, and Kitty.
Okay.
Because she has to be involved in your nonsense. Because I refuse to do it alone.
Aww.
If we all must suffer. Each of us will go. We'll go snake draft style. And you'll pick one Nicolas Cage horror movie, a comedy, a superhero movie, an action movie, a drama, a children's movie, and a sci-fi/fantasy movie where you'll find The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
That's also a comedy. And
there will be strategy
movie
involved because some categories, like the children's movies, there's only like 4 of them. And if you really only like one, you're probably going to want to get that one early because you'll end up with The Croods 2.
Croods 2 is the good one.
Oh, there you go.
Don't take Croods 1. Like, I'm giving you free draft advice here. You can skip Croods 1, but Croods 2 is where it's at.
I'll take what's left over because I've never seen any of those movies.
Now, I don't want to spoil things, but The Sorcerer's Apprentice ticks a lot of categories. So.
Yeah, and I've put it under sci-fi/fantasy.
That's not where it goes.
That's exactly where it goes because we're drafting off the list that I've made.
You've created
I've created
with this
a list
already.
And you're going to select off the list. I don't care if it takes all fucking week long to record this podcast and it takes me a decade to edit it. You're going to draft off the fucking list.
When they list movies at IMDb, they usually give like 4 different little tags for it.
I've done all this work for you. I've already separated them into the category you'll be selecting from.
But then it should be multiple because it's like children's and.
Nope. You're going to be selecting from
the Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's
you'll be selecting
children's movie
from the category I've put it in, and then you can no longer select from that category.
But who is the legitimacy of you? Who has granted you this power to create where Nicolas Cage, like you define? No, it's
Nicolas
like who put
Cage
the alphabet in alphabetical order. That's not a thing.
Greg did
that you can do.
Nicolas Cage, when we saved him from that dinosaur skull, he looked me in the eye and he said, first of all, is that weird guy who's looking at me at McDonald's?
Through the door and the people.
And then he said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take my movies, separate them into separate categories. And this is bound by Nicolas Cage law. And anyone who believes in Nicolas Cage must follow my words.
This is Cage law?
This is Cage law.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I retract my the things that objections. Yeah, I retract
the Ben Grimms?
I retract my Ben Grimms. I retract them fully, and I am ready. I am ready to draft. I'm going to draft so hard, I'm going to be able to count to 21 again.
Well, that'll be next week. We'll get Kitty together, and we'll do some drafting. And then in 2 weeks, we have the 2024 Scare Value Awards, which, yes, are postponed a week for Nicolas Cage's birthday.
Well, and this momentous eventus that is amongst us.
What happened having to do that is that the next week is the Foreign Correspondence Awards. Assuming that Ken's still alive, he was supposed to be here today, and we think he might be dead.
No, I just keep missing him. We're leaving each other phone messages. Not even like record, just like a little snippet that's on whatever we use to communicate. So it's like a minute of him going, hey, I missed you again. I'm like, I miss you too, buddy.
Oh, I guess he's just dead to me.
Oh, he's got your email, I think. I gave it to him.
He sure does. You sure did.
You hear that, Ken? You should email Brian all the time. Well, he likes it.
Tell him to get his shit together for the Chinese New Year so we can do his awards episode the week after we do my awards episode.
Yeah.
Because of Nicolas Cage's birthday.
We're going to blow you away with the award show, the Foreign Correspondence Awards this year, Brian. It's going to be... I did the little finger smack. You can see it, but no one else can. I kiss my fingers and throw them to the air.
All right.
That's how good it's going to be. So
after that, 3 more weeks of this stuff, this procedural stuff, we're finally going to get back to regular episodes. It feels like it's... Oh, no, I'm lying. I'm lying, Pete, because we're going to have... I just forgot. That's not even true. Because you know what comes up right after the Foreign Correspondence Awards?
Clearly, I don't.
We've already recorded it.
Oh no! Is it the 100th episode?
Yeah,
the Clips episode.
So there's another 2 weeks of non-regular episodes. Well, sometime in February, we're finally going to get back to regular episodes.
I don't know if I know how to watch one movie and just talk about that. It's going to be tough.
By the time we get there, it's going to have been like 2.5 months.
By the way, I really enjoyed those Christmas movies this year. I thought all three of them were pretty solid.
Yeah. So, no, we can end on a real high note because we did it again.
Oops.
We killed somebody.
Oh, no. Oh.
We recorded on Christmas Eve, and I was able to introduce you and Kitty to one of the most influential and seminal slasher films of all time, Black Christmas. And within 2 days, we had killed Olivia Hussey.
Olivia Hussey? The one who was going to get the abortion? That Olivia Hussey, the British girl?
All correct.
Oh, so I mean, she was alive until we talked about...
Almost to the minute.
I have never heard the name Olivia Hussey aside from like last week when we did this. That was the first time I ever heard of her name.
This is not the first time we've murdered. It will not be the last. But, I mean, you killed Toby Keith.
Toby Keith is dead?
Yeah, you killed him.
Oh,
you
man.
mentioned him out of nowhere, and like a day later, he was dead.
I didn't even know. That's right, that did happen.
When we were in the 80s, we killed the kid from Elf.
Yeah, that made me sad.
Don't know how we did that.
And
don't know how we knew when we were talking about it in the 80s.
And the only one we bothered to bring back was Nicolas Cage. Because you can only mess with the time stream so many times.
Well, I can't prove it, but I'm fairly certain Kitty killed Nicolas Cage in the original timeline, and we had to undo her.
I have no way of knowing.
When she told you that he was dead, she looked you right in the eye and said, "This is punishment. You know that, right? For you leaving." And I was like, I think she killed Nicolas Cage.
You know, I kind of always suspected that just in the way she delivered that line to me. I thought it was her, but I'm married to her, so you don't want to think poorly of your
Clearly,
spouse.
she's jealous of what you have with Nick Cage.
Yeah, but I mean, that relationship, that is something that everyone can experience. I'm not some Cage miser. I'm not like a knick-knack hoarder. I am just somebody who's trying to expose people to the love and the glory that is Nicolas Cage. The relationship, the personal relationship that I have with Nick Cage, you too can have. Just
you go to door to door and tell people about it.
No, that sounds like work.
Like a missionary.
I do like that position though. It's not a lot of energy.
Oh.
You just lay there and think of the queen, that hot Queen Victoria.
Oh, wait, you're on the bottom?
Well, yeah. Where on the top? Are you crazy? I don't have the stamina for that. Just lay there like a log.
I think you've got these reversed.
I think lay there like a log, thinking about my math, counting to 21 over and over and over. Eventually.
All right. I know that we'll be doing Candyman when we come back to regular episodes, but we're still, it turns out, over a month away from that. Jesus Christ.
I started watching Resident Alien in this hiatus from watching horror movies.
That is the one good thing, is we get a nice long break from watching movies, I guess.
Yeah. I should be catching up and trying to go ahead and seeing some of the things that we have coming up, but I'll forget every single thing about
there's no point to you doing that.
No, I have to watch these things a couple of days before if I have any hope of remembering what I saw.
Well, we'll be back next week with Nicolas Cage's 61st birthday, and then Scare Value Awards, which are up on the website already.
Then the Foreign Correspondent Awards.
And the Foreign Correspondence Awards. Then episode 100, part 1, and then episode 101, episode 100, part 2. And then a bonus episode, episode 100, part 3. That'll make sense to you when you listen to those episodes.
Oh, God. I love it already.
And then we're finally back to regular episodes where we can just watch like fucking Pitch Black for the 25th anniversary and be like, great, let's talk about Pitch Black. I'm looking forward to it.
That had Vin Diesel. It had some pretty cool aliens. I think that was Vin Diesel's first performance.
I don't think so, but...
You don't think so? I think it was. I think he popped up and he's like, I'm Riddick. And you know what? You're ridiculous. I don't know how that works, but I feel like it should be a line.
It's got my favorite Vin Diesel line in it.
Don't watch me now.
No, that's not in that movie, so you should be able to eliminate that one. But she tells him that she wants to save everybody, but she doesn't care about him, the captain of the ship. And she's like, it's like, I'll die for them, but I won't die for you. And then she gets taken by the alien at the end, and he looks and goes, not for me. That's my favorite. I fucking love Vin Diesel. I don't know.
I gotta watch the movie again. It's been too long.
It feels like Vin Diesel is like the most interesting person because he goes against everything that I genuinely like about film. I don't think he's that talented. I don't think he's that interesting. But for some reason, his package of what Vin Diesel is just works for me in every movie I watch.
Yeah. I'm guessing you haven't seen all of his collection.
No, but I've seen a set of trailers that always engage me.
That's true. The man knows how to make a good trailer.
Plus, name any movie that you don't think would be more interesting if Vin Diesel was playing a part in it. Vin Diesel as Dracula? Fuck yes.
That was my first thought. That was where I went immediately.
Make one more Dracula.
Oh, God, that would be good.
Vin Diesel as Longlegs? Yes.
Vin Diesel as the T-Rex in Jurassic Park?
Oh, my God, yes. Except he'd have to have big arms because he got that in his contract.
What is this part of the fight with the Fast and the Furious stuff?
Yeah, that they all have riders in their contract that how long they're allowed to be shown getting hit and that they're not allowed to lose fights.
That is ridiculous.
It's the best franchise of our lifetime.
and they can't get, like, certain of them can't get beat up, and they have to, like, have the good line. Like, this is so childish. I love it. This is great.
It is great. So next week, Nick Cage nonsense.
Nick Cage, no, he should be in the Fast and the Furious. They need a new bad guy.
He's only getting a 61st birthday because we saved his life when we time traveled.
I know. That's special.
Of course, I guess if we had not time traveled the first time, he never would have died because it had to be directly responsible for it, or else because it never happened the first time around. That's how I know Kitty did it. That's how I know Kitty did it.
Because he survived the first time?
He wasn't dead when we left.
That's true. And we talk about him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
the two people we can't kill, Nicolas Cage and Jeffrey Jones. And I'm trying on both counts.
We bring him up a lot, and yet still he keeps on ticking.
It's insane. I wish, my wish for the new year is that Jeffrey Jones dies. That is my New Year wish.
I don't normally think it's okay to wish death upon other people, but I'm not thinking this is a bad New Year's wish. Can you make it a New Year's resolution?
I mean, that's a different meaning. Is a New Year's wish even a thing? I don't think it is.
I don't think it is anymore.
No wonder we're so bad at killing Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, we really got to get our act together in this new year.
Yeah. All right. Well, instead I'm going to go prep Nicolas Cage games.
I'm going to go watch Nicolas Cage movies in my head because the kids won't let me watch them on TV.
Nice. I guess the good news about not doing actual movies for a while is that I don't have to do any actual work. The awards are already done. The Nick Cage game is ready to go. I don't do anything for the Foreign Correspondence Awards except sit here and roll my eyes and sigh. The 100th episode's already done. All 3 of them.
That's true.
I'm like off for a month and a half now.
That's where I'm at. Except I have to go to work on Thursday or Friday. One of those days.
Nice.
So I'm not really off.
What's today? October?
I think it's Nudie Magazine Day.
Ooh.
I don't even think they have nudie magazines anymore.
I'm sure they do. No, Pete. I'm sure they do. All right. We'll see. We'll see you next week.